Okay.
All right. Hello, friends. Welcome back. This is another episode of Authentic and Unaltered. With me today is Rick, also known as Rocket Rick J18. Welcome to my channel, Rick.
Well, thank you, John.
It's great to have you here. And if you don't know Rick, he has got a fairly new channel on YouTube, but he is a longtime collector. Almost as long as continuously now as, back to when I was a kid and collected for a few years and had a long gap. So he is very knowledgeable and has a lot of stuff. And I am excited to talk to you today and hear a little bit more about your story there. So.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, John, and thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, to kick things off, I always like to ask people, as a kid, what sports did you play? And,
Well, my number one sport was baseball. Not in terms of my talent, which was, I peaked at 12. So that's as far as I got. But I played, just sandlot ball, actually, all through law school. So, I was a grown man still playing baseball, but not in any organized way. Yeah. I did play some softball, league softball, and things like that, but that's a completely different game.
Oh, absolutely.
But I played basketball. I played sandlot football. I did play tennis. I was a tennis player for at my high school and in college. That was many pounds ago, however.
I know that myself. So, but I have seen the video where you talk about your origins in collecting, but being a fairly new channel, it's a slow going in terms of subscriber count and people actually watching you. So right now, don't forget, people, subscribe to Rocket Rick J18 when you get a chance. But if you could talk about your origin story as far as baseball card collecting, we'd love to hear it. So,
well, I was in the first grade. This would have been in the spring of 1959, and my mom and I lived in an apartment building that was, just a very short walk from the school that I went to in Haverford, Pennsylvania. Not too well, really just down the road from where Wilt Chamberlain went to school. He went to Overbrook, if you're familiar with the Philadelphia area. I was just on the other side of the city line, so in Haverford. And I was walking home from school and passed through a sandlot baseball field with had a backstop, and kids just played on it. It wasn't I don't know that they played any organized games or any. If they did, I never saw one. But I just turned 6 years old, and that's how just walking through there, and I up against the backstop was sort of leaning against it was an open pack of 1959 baseball cards, and one of the cards that was in there was a Curt Flood 1959 Curt Flood card. And I do have, this is not the one that I had, because obviously that all of my cards from my youth that I collected through high school, I gave them away, but including the Curt Flood that I had. But I got another one, so that's my Curt Flood card, and that's how I got introduced to baseball cards. I'd say I probably really didn't even understand what baseball cards were and probably really didn't even understand what baseball was at that time. I mean, I do remember watching the 1960 World Series with great interest, and it'd be about I don't know, the third or fourth inning, maybe by the time I got home from school. But the games were all on during the daytime, so they were easy for me to watch when I got home. I really got more interested in it then, um, and really started collecting cards in earnest. And we didn't have card stores back then. I mean, you could get them at almost any store, or gas station, or whatever. But I got most of mine from the ice cream truck that you parked across or just outside of the boundaries of the school property where I went to grade school. By this time, I had moved and lived in just outside of Newark, Delaware, just a few miles south of Pennsylvania. So I bought, packs of cards, and I did that all the way through. The junior high school was right next to the grade school, so all the way through the ninth grade. And then when I went off to high school, it was about 3 miles away. I had to change the place where I bought my baseball cards, but I still collected them through high school. That I graduated in 1970, so that I didn't. As I like to say, I got interested in girls and cars, and mostly trying to get the girl to go get in the car with me. So that was the. But I married that girl, so it all worked out.
Nice. So how does a kid that's near Philly end up split fandom between Yankees and Pirates then?
Well, here's the story. Obviously, the draw for me was Mickey Mantle. I thought he, hung the moon. Just everything about him appealed to me, to, a young kid who liked to play baseball. And, um, uh, if I could have been anything in the world, I would have loved to have been the center fielder for the Yankees, but it didn't work out. So, as I say, my two great heroes growing up were Albert Einstein and Mickey Mantle, and I made an effort to be like both of them. And in a way, I kind of am, because I had Mickey Mantle's brains and Albert Einstein's athletic ability. But still, you can dream, and I dreamt a lot about playing baseball, and it was always Mickey Mantle and the Yankees. So that's how I became a Yankees fan. Um, the Yankees kind of fell on evil times, towards the end of my the years that I was in high school, and so I was, I still followed them, and I knew all about Roy White and Bobby Cox and Jerry Kenny and Horace Clark and you the different players that came along through that era that maybe are a little more forgettable than Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra.
Sure.
But when I went away to college, I went to a little school in West Virginia called Bethany College up in the northern Panhandle, close to Pittsburgh. And so I listened to Pirate games on the radio and the odd game that was on TV, because back then, baseball wasn't on TV all the time. Usually the game of the week, and and then of course, my second year in college, the Pirates won the World Series, and so that was pretty thrilling. You got to see them on TV, and it was back when you had the national broadcast on TV, but the radio was all just the local broadcasters. So the Pirate broadcasters back then, radio broadcasters, were Bob Prince and Nellie King. King was a former pitcher for the Pirates back in the 50s, but Bob Prince had been with the club for quite a long time, and he was with them through, I don't know, about 1974, 75. And then they KDKA changed management, and by that time Bob Prince was, probably one of those guys that was hard to guard. He drank a little and talked a lot, and uh, anyway, so he was gone, and but I kind of started following the Pirates, and I still, I say the Pirates are my National League team, even though I'm wearing this New York Giants hat. Um, I have a lot of hats, so I switch them out
Sure.
depending on how I feel. Um, but that's how I got to be a Pirate fan.
All right. And speaking of a lot of things, you also have a lot of baseball cards. If
Well, I'm a set collector,
Yeah,
primarily, and so I've had the good fortune to be able to collect in what I will call gently used grade, where some of them have been more than just gently used. And so I've got sets that all of the top sets except 1972. And what I usually do is I don't spend a lot of time with new cards, but I get the box set every year, and I take them out of the box and put them in binders, and that's how I collect. And then I go back and I try to collect the vintage cards. Um, I started out like everybody does, get the 80s sets, and then the 70s, and then I worked on the 60s and a few 50s sets, and as I'd complete them, I just move on to the next one. And over the course of the last 37 years, I've managed to uh, collect, like I said, everything on the top side, but except for the 52 set, which I will never complete, I'm sure. And I lack two cards of completing my 49 Bowman set, and then that'll give me all eight Bowman sets. And then I have other, sets as well. Uh, the Fleer and Donruss, when they came along in 1980, I collected those for about 10 or 12 years. And then, they just exploded, and the number of sets that were offered every year was, more than I would have needed another, warehouse to hold them all in. So I gave up, I just collect the top set now.
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
then
loaded. So
I collected some, I call them oddball sets, I guess, if you will. And so I've got a couple of cards in here that represent that. And let's see, here's a Red Heart Stan Musial.
that's a gorgeous card.
Yeah, it's a beautiful card. And I learned, I guess, that the red background, I came in several different background colors, but the red are the most scarce, I guess you would say, if scarcity is the right word. I'm never quite sure. Some of these get to be hot button issues with people. I don't like the word oddball. John Mangini says, So
Yeah,
he's tormented by some of the guys. There's Rick Oddball vintage cards, or vintage oddball cards, or I think it's really what it is.
sure. But you
But
got all 33 of those then?
yeah, I just finished that this year. I think I was trying to think. I think maybe the Warren Spahn was the last card that I needed to. And and I always start off on any set that has Mickey Mantle in it. I try to get the Mantle card first. And then I feel like, well, if I've got that one, the other ones will be easier. And
Yeah, he's
most of
a
the time they
handful
are.
in many.
Yeah. Most of the time they are, but sometimes, they'll throw a ringer in there. And, I think about the best example of that was the 54 Bowman set, there's uh, 200 and 240 cards in that set, I believe. And the Ted Williams card was pulled because he hadn't consented to lend his image to Bowman that particular year.
Yeah.
So he was replaced by a second Richie Ashburn card. So there's two Richie Ashburn cards in the set. One of them is card number 66, which is the number that had been assigned at first to Ted Williams. So I have a Ted Williams card, and it was, I found it in really desperate condition. It looked like somebody had taken the card like this and glued around the outside another border. The border has since been taken off, but the glue residue still makes a pretty unattractive border for that card. But instead of paying $1,000 for it, I paid maybe $75 or $100 for it in very poor condition. In fact, it was one of the cards I entered in, Rick Oddball, vintage Oddball cards.
Yeah, the best beater.
Best beaters.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So, every Top Set and all those other ones, when you approach a vintage set, did you buy a big lot of them, or how did you get started when you started a new set?
It varied. I bought for example, the 1951 Bowman set. I had bought the Mantle card. I got it at a really pretty attractive price. I think I paid $865 for it. So it's worth considerably more than that now. But then it was easily the most expensive card I'd ever bought.
Yeah.
And I had maybe 45 or 50 cards, which, out of 320, that's really not all that good. And I saw one day that Dean's cards had a complete set for sale, and I thought, well, maybe he'll sell me, the rest of the set, and if I let him keep the Mantle card, which obviously reduced the price of the set quite a bit.
Yeah.
Brought it down to within reach, and so that's how I got that set. So sometimes it's, a lot all at once. And sometimes there used to be a guy named Bill Henderson. I don't know if if you remember him. I don't think he's around anymore, but he used to have a, advertised in Sports Collectors Digest and Beckett and so forth. And he called himself the King of Commons. So very often, once I had secured the Mantle card, I'd go to Bill Henderson and he would sell in like 100 or 200 card lots or 50 or, whatever you wanted to buy in different grades. And so I bought a lot of cards from Bill Henderson, and that's how I got a lot of the common cards. And then you just go to shows and, local card shop, and, you one day you walk in and say, the guy says, hey, I've got a Roberto Clemente rookie card. It's not in real great shape, but maybe I thought maybe you might be interested in it. And of course, I was interested in it, and I bought it. Uh, I found a kind of a beat up Sandy Koufax rookie in a bargain uh, bin at a card show, and I bought that. Just different ways of getting lots and getting commons and getting into the big cards. And uh, I did some work, some tax work for a guy that had a pretty nice collection of what I'll call beater cards. And here's one here that you'll recognize right away.
Yep.
But you'll notice that at the top there's a little tape mark at the top and the bottom. So again, it's in poor condition.
If anybody's
So,
not looking at the screen, it's a 54 Topps Hank Aaron rookie.
yeah, yeah,
For people that listen to some of these.
yeah. That's right. You're right. But that's an example of a card that I got. I did some work for this, some tax work for this fella, and he had a bunch of old baseball cards, and I said, well, maybe we can work out a deal. And I got really a bunch of cards, and this was in it. There was a 54 Jackie in there, and things like that, and so that kind of helped me get some cards for not a huge outlay of cash. Um,
Nice.
so that worked out pretty well. Yeah.
So, I know you said you pulled out some of your good representatives for some of these
Yeah.
sets. So, you want to show off some of these cards here for us?
Sure. Well, I got a couple of cards from that 51 Bowman set. And I'll tell you a little story about this one. I bought this card raw, and probably, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years ago. And last year at the National, I took it with me and got it graded. And so I thought that was pretty cool, to be able to do that. And I kind of did it sort of as an estate planning idea. My wife, who knows practically nothing about baseball cards, although she finds this YouTube very entertaining. um, but she, I thought by having a card like this graded, it would kind of put an anchor down in terms of what the value might be. And so, I later acquired this one too, which I think you can
Yeah.
probably see what that is too. That's the
Willie
51 top.
Mays rookie.
So yeah. So that's those, and then others that I have. You've seen the Musial and the Williams. Here's a 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson. So I'm
Awesome.
happy to have that card, and I know I only paid $50 for it. And I stagger to think of what it might be today, a couple thousand maybe.
It's not cheap. Yeah, I'm not sure myself. It's
Yeah.
not something on my radar to ever buy. So
Yeah. So this is these cards, Satchel Paige are all kind of pricey, but this one's maybe
yeah,
the least expensive of the three that I'm aware of. The
absolutely.
49 Leaf, the 49 Bowman, and this one.
Yeah, that's the one that's my target for the most affordable to complete my Hall of Famer project. So
Yeah. But you can see this card is not in great shape. It's miscut at the top, but still looks pretty good, and
oh,
I'm
yeah.
happy to have it. Um, here's something. This is a food issue, and if you see this card, you'll know that this is actually Frank Robinson's true rookie card because it was issued by Cons Wieners in 1956, and his regular base Topps card didn't come out till 57.
Yeah.
And I bought this card for next to nothing at a card shop outside of Cincinnati. I mean, the guy couldn't give them away, you know.
Well,
And I don't know what they cost now, but I paid
they
next
aren't
to
cheap.
nothing for them.
Do you have
Yeah.
that whole set too?
No, I do
Okay.
not. I do have some of them. I've collected a fair number of the Pirates and some of the Reds. I don't know that I have any other teams. And really the Reds cards that I have, I've always liked Frank Robinson. And I say one of the dates that will live in infamy is December 31st, 1965, which is the day that the Reds traded Frank Robinson
Baltimore.
to
Yeah.
Baltimore for 8 players, I believe, and only one of them was Milt Pappas, and he was the star, you know, the guy that the Reds were really going after. What a terrible trade!
Yeah.
What a terrible trade! But that's that's so that's kind of a nice. Those are nice cards to get. The Cons Wieners. I don't have any of the Red Man cards, but that's a nice set of cards to go after. And
Can you even imagine what it would be like if you throw him added onto the mix of the big red machines?
oh yeah, goodness gracious, you know, yeah, he would have been as good an outfielder as the Reds would have had, in those days. They had
Yeah.
a pretty solid infield. The outfield was a little sketchy at times. But they got, obviously he would have been an improvement over anybody else that they could have put in right field.
Oh yeah.
You know, so so that's what I have for you on that. I've got a couple of more. Uh, I had one card from the '60s that I decided to bring out, and you'll see why that's so.
Jerry Kuzman's rookie.
Yeah, the Jerry Kuzman rookie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He was a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah, well, he was a pretty good pitcher, actually.
I mean,
I
the
think
Mets
maybe
liked him more than Nolan
Yeah.
Ryan at the time, right?
well, they kept Kuzman, they traded
Yep.
Ryan, so yeah, I'd say that's probably right. But the Mets have not been known for their
Wise decisions.
really great forward-thinking front office team.
Yeah.
Then so the other two that I have to show are the Derek Jeter 92 Upper Deck SP rookie card, which I got in a big lot of Derek Jeter cards, probably before this one really took off. And then I think this is one of the most intriguing cards that I have. That's the Albert Pujols and Ichiro Suzuki. Not very often do you get a chance to have a 3,000 member of the 3,000 hit club and the 700 home run club on the same card.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty fascinating. And, I have a couple Albert Pujols rookie cards, and my wife got me, I said, get me a Pujols autograph. So at Christmas, she got me Luis Pujols autograph card, which I still have over there. But she also got me the Albert Pujols card, so it was just a kind of a joke at that point in time. But that's what I have to show you. I tried to get cards that I thought were representative of the ones that I collected, and for the most part, those are all in sets. A few, like this Kurt Flood, is slabbed, and what is it? There's also the Mickey Mantle card, which we already talked about, and this Ichiro and Albert Pujols card. So now I'm kind of going over after maybe players that I really liked at one point in time, or developed a liking for, like a pre-war cards, of which I've branched out into a little bit. I don't know very much about it, so I'm still kind of pretty far down on the learning curve there. But I've got maybe half a dozen or so, um, other than the one set that I have, which is the 39 play ball.
Which is a gorgeous set. But
It's a wonderful set. In fact, all three of the play ball sets I think are really magnificent.
yeah, I actually like the ones that are the black and white
Yeah,
photos more than that weird sort of color they put on the
right.
40s. But
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I'll work on those a little bit. Those seem like they might be manageable. You got the Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio in each set that are pricey cards, but they're not totally outside the realm of possibility.
yeah. And, as far as your pre-war dabbling, is there any kind of particular targets, or you're just
Yeah,
getting
I'd
stuff you like?
I'd like to, like probably everybody else. I'd like to get some examples of the playing day examples of the Hall of Fame players. Um, some of them, obviously, you're never going to get a Honus Wagner in the T206, but you might. Was able to find a pretty reasonably priced 49 leaf Honus Wagner. So it's not quite playing days. He looks a little long in the tooth, but still, it
Sure.
is a Honus Wagner card, and it's over 65 years old. So
Yeah, he's one of those tough ones where you really can't find something without a comma.
yeah, yeah, there just aren't that many of them around.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
playing days, anyways. So
from the playing days. So,
yeah,
I work on those, and you're talking about Walter Johnson, Cy Young, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Pie Trainer, Christy Mathewson, on down the line. I mean, just you know, some of our friends in the hobby have such wonderful pre-war collections. Orlando's is magnificent, and
oh yeah,
so that just really makes me blush. To call myself a baseball card collector.
yeah. I mean, the rest of us can try to find the bargains
Yeah,
relative bargains, at least in
uh,
terms of less popular cards from some of those guys.
exactly.
But
I tell Orlando, I said, I'm looking for the card that you didn't think was good enough for your collection.
exactly. So, speaking of YouTube, then, how do you feel about your first few months here on YouTube? How's that been going?
Well, if you watched the my introduction, you realize that I didn't start off with very high quality of production or talent, uh, but it was a start, and I feel like I'm a little handier at it than I was back in February when I did my first video. But my wife encouraged me to do it. We watched a lot of for about I'd say for about a year. We just watched, and we watched a lot of videos, and she watched a lot of them with me. But we'd sit down at dinner time or something and just put a couple on, and so we started out with baseball collector Mike and his podcast, Golden Age of Cardboard, and that was primarily just listening to it. I didn't even know they were on TV on YouTube, so I found that out, and so then I could, watch them and even make comments, and so
Sure.
forth. So that got interesting, and I've watched a lot of your videos, and I really like your approach, and you just seem like you know, I mean, I feel like I know you because even though this is the first time we've really ever talked, um, I've seen enough of your videos. I do feel like I know you a little bit, and I like the way you do things. And obviously, you have your production, the production value of your videos. I'll never get to that level. So
And that's okay. I mean,
yeah, that's
thank
right.
you. But
Yeah,
we all started from just getting over that hurdle of actually turning the camera on
yeah,
is a
yeah.
big step. So
That's right. Yeah, my first few videos, even to get them up to the pour level that I had to reach up quite a bit to get to pour, um, and that's uh, I think that it was a stretch, and I wasn't comfortable. Never really been. I'm not really a much of an extrovert. Although, once I get started talking, it's hard to shut me up. I tend to go on and on and on.
that's all right. Um, so you did mention having been to a previous national. Have you been to multiple, or what's your experience there?
I've been to two. I went to Cleveland back in 2008. Believe that's the year. It was it wasn't into the tens yet, so it was a year that had two zeros in it, and it just went up for the day. I live about 2.5 hours from Cleveland, and so I just went up there for one day, and I enjoyed it. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I bought, a fair amount of cards there for me. And then, as I said, I started watching videos probably about, I don't know, 6 or 7 months before the national. And as we got closer to it, people were talking about it. And I said, I think I should go back to one. And it was in Atlantic City. And I have a daughter that lives in Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania, and just about probably not much more than an hour's drive from Atlantic City. So we just made arrangements to be visiting her during that time. I'm retired now. My wife is retired now, so we have a little more flexibility in our schedule. And so this time I went over for 2 days, and I was there on Wednesday and Thursday. And, I didn't really see too many people that I knew. I've done a lot of business over the years with Kit Young. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a dealer that has been around forever, and nice guy, and the people that he has in his organization are nice people. And so I stopped and talked to him for a while, and that he's. I talked to other dealers, but I didn't know him before. They just you know got talking to a guy that had autographed baseballs, and I had an idea when I went there that I was going to get a Roy White autographed baseball, and I bought the ball and everything. But my gosh, the lines were so long, and I said I'm not gonna waste my time standing in line uh, to get something. And I found this guy, and he had a Roy White autographed baseball for $50. Well, I was going to spend that you know, on getting the ball, and getting the autograph, and more than that. And so I just bailed out on standing in line, and I bought several baseballs bought some old Phillies baseballs, and I was around watching with great interest the 1964 collapse of the Phillies in the last couple weeks. They lost 10 of their last 12 games, and including games in that stretch, games 2 through 11. And they won a meaningless game, the last game of the season. But, it was really sad. But like I tell my Phillies fans, they all want to crucify Gene Mauch because he pitched, Jim Bunning and Chris Short every other day. And I said, well, who else were you going to put in there? Jack Baldwin or, Art Mahaffey, Dallas Green? I mean, Dallas Green said one time, he was a 20-game winner, but it just took him 7 years to win him. And that's true.
Yeah.
He won 22 games. So, he pitched what he had. And then unfortunately they ran out of gas.
Sure. But, so you going to this year's national then, and
I am.
meet up with the YouTubers and all that?
I definitely plan to go to the Thursday night shindig that Mike Moynihan organizes. I guess if there's an organization to it, and he picks out the place and makes the arrangements. So I guess that makes him the organizer.
Sure.
But as I understand it, it's kind of a loose format. So apparently it involves alcoholic beverages.
It does seem to do that for a lot of the
Which
folks.
suits me. I'm not a teetotaler.
But that would be great. I mean, I wish I could be there, but it's going to have to wait for Cleveland for my first.
Okay.
One, so.
Well, that's next year. So
yeah.
I plan to go to Cleveland again. I don't generally regard it as the mistake on the lake, but some people do, I guess.
Yeah, that's definitely Scott, Reindeer Studios, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. So to wrap things up, I have got some 10 personal questions to ask you.
Okay. Ready? I was anticipating this.
Okay. So, number one, as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I think I already let the cat out of the bag, didn't I?
One.
Yeah, I wanted to take Mickey Mantle's place in center field for the Yankees. That wasn't a very.
And then, if that didn't work out, did you have one?
My fallback position. Well, my mother was a big fan of Perry Mason, so I got the idea that, well, maybe I can be a lawyer. So that's what I did.
All right. I guess that worked out well for you.
It worked out all right. Yeah, I'm happy to be finished with it for the most part. But I had 47 years of it. So
awesome. Number two, who's the most famous person you have had a real life encounter with?
I guess maybe Henry Kissinger.
How did that happen?
I went to I guess it was a Chamber of Commerce event, and they had him in as a speaker. It was a state meeting, and he was the keynote speaker. Really, very entertaining. He's still around. He's like 100 years old.
Yeah, if we'd all be so lucky. But do you have a favorite song?
Wow, yeah, I do. It's Like a Rolling Stone.
Oh, like Bob Dylan?
Yeah, I'm a big Bob Dylan fan.
Awesome. If you could choose to have a superhero power, what would be your power of choice?
Absolutely no question. I'd like to be able to fly.
Sweet. Yeah, that's a good one.
I used to have dreams about it.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Of course, it seems like half the time when you have one of those dreams, at least for me, you suddenly lose the ability to control it or something.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I crashed a few times.
Yeah.
Usually wake up before I hit the ground, though.
Or I've had ones where I just keep going up and up into like outer space and can't
Uh-huh.
back. And yeah,
Yeah. Lost in space, huh?
exactly. Um, uh, Outside of a dog, I had too many people say that because that's too easy of an answer. What's your favorite animal?
Well, the dog is my favorite animal. We have two of them right now. They're miniature dachshunds, and if you've never had a dachshund, they're a real treat. But I would probably say, uh, you know, geez, I don't know. Favorite animal. I'm going to say maybe a bear. Not that I want to meet one face to face. I want some bars in between me and him.
Yeah, that's not usually a better option for
Yeah.
your health.
I have a rule. One of the principles that I live by, and that is, don't wander into places where you're not at the top of the food chain.
Probably a good rule.
Yeah, that's just a guideline,
Yes. All right. If you had the ability to experience someone else's life anytime in history for a day, who do you want it to be?
Well, the easy answer is it'd be a toss up between Albert Einstein and Mickey Mantle. I those are the things that I really get excited by.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think with the Einstein one, even though for that day you might be able to understand so many more things, you'd probably then forget it once you go back to your own self, right?
Well, I take some comfort in the fact that mathematics was not necessarily his strong suit, although he was pretty good at it.
Yeah,
He had to learn some additional mathematics when he was working on his theory of special relativity.
sure. What's your favorite movie?
That's easy. Casablanca. I've probably seen it 25 times.
All right.
I mean, I just, it's, I, if, there's a couple of movies that are just rich with, snippets of dialogue that you can, lift out of it and apply to things in your own life, whether it's Here's Looking at You, Kid, or, you know, We'll Always Have Paris, or whatever, yeah, Casablanca. That's my favorite.
Excellent. So what was your favorite subject in school?
Well, I think in high school, chemistry. I really liked it. I was a history major in college because I knew I was going to law school, and I was a much better history student than I was a chemistry student. So
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of chemistry. It felt like a lot too much memorization of stuff, a little bit.
well, you must have really hated biology then.
Yes, I dreaded biology. My favorite by a mile was physics. So,
Yeah, I liked physics a lot too.
so
We had a teacher that his favorite question was why.
and I think that's probably a pretty common answer for anyone who ends up an engineer of what their favorite science class was. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which
Yeah.
is the case for me. So,
Okay.
um, what is your favorite food?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I will tell you this in the 47 years of my marriage to all to one woman, um, I only ever turned down one meal. So I get along with food.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what it is.
There's not a particular one that
I mean, I enjoy a good steak. We don't enjoy them very often, number one, because, I'm at the stage of life where I have to worry about my health, and it's not the healthiest food to eat, but sure does taste good.
Sure.
And I'd say being Irish, potatoes would certainly be right up there in all of its forms.
Sure. All right, you've made it to question number 10. This one might be a hard one for you.
Okay,
If I
I'm ready.
forced you to get rid of all of your sets except for one, what is the one that you would keep?
Well, the one that I would keep, I think, would be the 1960 Tops set. I think because it it just kind of has all of the things that you want in a set of cards. They're colorful. They have all the big stars from or at least the early 60s. And, that was kind of my coming of age set. Uh, and I didn't collect a complete set when I was a kid, but I had a lot of them. If I had been smart, I would have bought a lot more of the last series, than I did. So, but,
Yeah, one of those hindsight things.
yeah.
Knowing what you
But
know.
I love that set, and when I got back into cards, the first card I bought was a 1960 Mickey Mantle card, which I paid $25 for. So
Yeah, I saw that one from your
yeah,
free video. You got that one, or
yeah.
you got one autographed.
I bought that card in 1986, and I kept it and kept it and kept it, and didn't do anything else with it other than put it in the binder with the rest of the cards from the set when I accumulated those. And then in December, I believe it was, I sent it in to I had to, and I missed the interim step somewhere after I'd had the card for 4 or 5 years. I got it autographed in person by Mickey Mantle, and so it's actually been in Mickey Mantle's hands, if only for a minute or two.
Yeah.
And then I kept that in that condition, for a long time. And then in December, I sent it in to PSA to have it graded. Came back. The card was graded. I got it dual graded. The card got a grade of 2, and the autograph got a grade of 7, which is probably due to the fact that I handled it so much for nearly 40 years before I had it slabbed. But it suffered a little bit.
But still, it's an amazing item to have, though.
It's wonderful. I smile every time I look at it, which is often.
I would too. I mean, I kind of lucked into getting more of a bargain when I picked up my 60 Tops Mantle because I got a scrapbook glued one that is a 1 grade.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, mine's only a 2, so
yeah. So
that wasn't too hard. I didn't have to labor over that one too long because if I could only have one, that'd be the one I'd keep. Not the most valuable, but the most personally rewarding, I would say.
I mean, that's the first set of cards I fell in love with starting to collect vintage. So that's a great choice. So, that is all the questions I had for you, Rick. So thank you. You did a great job. You made it.
Thank you very much, John. I really had a great time.
As did I. It's always great to get to learn all about new people in this awesome community. So, um,
Amen.
everybody that's watching, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Rick's channel, and I will see you all next time. You want to give us your closing outro?
Well, sure. This is Rocket Rick J18